AITA, for refusing to let my parents meet my baby after years of favoritism. I, 29F, have one older sister, Sarah, 32F. And before anyone asks, no, my parents didn't neglect me. I had food, clothes, school, birthday parties, vacations sometimes. From the outside, we looked like a normal family. But there's a difference between being provided for and being chosen. And I was never chosen. I wasn't planned. That's not something my parents ever said directly. It's just something you piece together after hearing the same story at every family gathering for your entire life. My parents struggled with infertility for years before having Sarah. I've heard about the doctors, the treatments, the crying nights. My mom's sister, my aunt, once told me they almost gave up. So when my mom finally got pregnant with Sarah, it was like a miracle had descended from heaven. They celebrated like crazy. There were parties, photo shoots.
My dad apparently cried.
My grandparents flew in. My mom kept every ultrasound photo framed. I know all of this because I've heard the story at least 100 times. When Sarah was born, it was apparently the happiest day of their lives. Then 3 years later, I happened. I was an unexpected blessing. That's the phrase they use. They weren't upset. They weren't devastated. But they weren't trying. There were no dramatic stories. There were no framed ultrasound photos of me. Just a quiet, "Oh, we're pregnant again." They celebrated. Just not like before. And you can feel the difference in a house, even as a child. It wasn't neglect. That's important. We both had clothes. We both went to school. We both had birthday cakes. But Sarah's cake was always a little bigger. Her gifts were always slightly nicer. Her school events were must attend. Mine were we'll try our best. If Sarah had a recital and I had a spelling bee on the same day, guess where my parents were? If Sarah wanted a new phone, she got the newest model. If I wanted one, I got her old one. When we went on family trips, they were often centered around what Sarah wanted to do. Sometimes, and this part hurt the most, they'd take her alone. Just a little bonding time. I would be left with my aunt, my mom's sister. And I loved my aunt. I still do. She's one of the only reasons I don't feel completely unwanted.
She saw it.
The favoritism. She tried to intervene sometimes. I remember once she confronted my mom after they left me behind for a week-long beach trip with Sarah. She's your daughter too. My parents were good at pretending for a while after that. They'd overcompensate. Buy me something. Attend one school event. Then slowly drift back to normal. My aunt once told me something that stuck with me forever. If I force them to take you on those trips, they'll just resent you the whole time. I'd rather you stay with me and actually feel wanted. And she did make me feel wanted. My aunt is married. My uncle works long hours and has always been quiet. When I was little, I thought he didn't like me. Whenever I stayed over, he'd either be at work, watching TV, or sitting silently with a newspaper. He never really initiated conversations. I assumed I was a burden to him. One day, when I was around 8, my parents left me at my aunt's place again while they took Sarah out of town. My aunt had to step out for an errand. I started feeling sick. I ended up vomiting all over the kitchen floor. I panicked. I thought I'd get in trouble. My uncle came out of the living room. I remember bracing myself. Instead, he rushed over and asked, "Are you okay?" He didn't sound annoyed. He sounded worried. He cleaned everything up, and when I said my stomach hurt badly, he took me to the hospital himself. He stayed the entire time. When we got back home, he made me soup. He burned his hand while cooking. I remember him flinching, but not saying anything. He just ran his hand under water and kept going. He gave me my medicine, tucked me in on the couch, and this part still makes me emotional. He told me stories from his childhood to distract me. That was the first time I ever felt protected. When my aunt came home, she smiled in a way I didn't understand at the time. Later, when it was just us, she told me something that changed everything. "He doesn't hate you," she said. "He's just nervous. He hasn't spent much time with kids, and he's not sure how to talk to you, so he tends to stay quiet. He cares about you, but he wasn't sure what to say or do." After that day, things slowly changed. He'd ask about my school. He'd help me with math. He'd joke with me. By the time I was a teenager, he felt more like a father figure than my own dad did. And I don't say that lightly. My relationship with Sarah has never been good. Sarah isn't evil, but she knew. She knew she was the golden child. She'd sometimes joke about it. If I ever tried to talk about how I felt, she'd roll her eyes. "You're so dramatic. Stop playing victim. You have everything." And technically, I did.
Just not their priority.
I left home for college. Best decision of my life. I met my husband there. Let's call him Daniel. For the first time, I felt chosen. Not compared. Not second. Chosen. Daniel knew about the favoritism. He saw it during holidays. He'd squeeze my hand under the table when my parents dismissed something I said but praised Sarah for the same thing 5 minutes later. When he proposed, I was the happiest I'd ever been. And I knew. I just knew Sarah wouldn't let it be about me. About 3 months before my wedding, Sarah suddenly announced she was getting engaged. To a boyfriend she'd been dating for less than a year. The engagement party? Scheduled on the exact same day as my wedding.
Same time. Different city.
I found out through a group family chat message. When I called my mom, she sounded stressed. Well, Sarah's going through a lot. And this is really important for her. So is my wedding. Silence. Can't you move it? We had booked everything. Deposits paid. Guests invited. I knew then. This wasn't a coincidence. Sarah had been spiraling because she was still unmarried. I was the younger sister. I wasn't supposed to get there first. Later, I found out she had pressured her boyfriend into proposing. The day of the events came. My parents chose Sarah's engagement. But here's the thing. I was prepared. I had already asked my uncle to walk me down the aisle months earlier. I had asked my aunt to fill the mother of the bride role at my wedding. They both cried when I asked. My wedding was beautiful. Bittersweet. But beautiful. And the best part? Sarah's engagement party ended in disaster. Her fiancé broke up with her that same night. Apparently, he felt manipulated and overwhelmed. After marriage, Daniel and I built a quiet, happy life. A year later, I got pregnant. I was overjoyed. My parents were excited too, or at least they acted like it. My mom kept saying, "Our first grandchild." But even then, I noticed something. Whenever Sarah had a bad day, the conversation shifted. Whenever Sarah cried about her recent breakup, my pregnancy updates faded into the background. Still, I hoped. Maybe this baby would change things. When I went into labor, it was long and painful. Daniel was by my side. My aunt and uncle were in the waiting room. I kept checking my phone. Nothing. Finally, my mom texted, "We can't come. Sarah is having a breakdown. She still hasn't recovered from the breakup." I stared at that message while contracting through another wave of pain. I was about to give birth. And they chose her again. My daughter was born healthy. Perfect. I cried holding her, not just because of love, but because I knew something inside me had finally broken. The next day, my parents called. They sounded excited. "How's the baby?" And I said it calmly. "You're not meeting her." Silence. "What?" "You didn't come because she wasn't important enough. So, you don't get to meet her now." They said I was being cruel. That Sarah is fragile. That I'm punishing them. Maybe I am. But I'm tired of being second. So, AITA? Update. After my initial decision to cut my parents off, I honestly thought it would give them pause. That maybe, just maybe, they would reflect on their actions and realize that being absent during the most important moments of my life, my wedding, my pregnancy, my labor, wasn't something they could just brush off. I was wrong. At first, it was subtle. Calls at odd hours. Texts, "We just want to see the baby for a few minutes, please. We love you." Emails. Messages on social media. I read them, sometimes deleted them unread, sometimes responded with polite but firm refusals. "I appreciate your concern, but no.
Not now."
They started ramping up the pressure. Eventually, they came to the house unannounced. My heart sank when I saw their car in the driveway. I didn't answer the door. I didn't even peek through the curtains. Eventually, they left. I could feel my resolve harden even further. A few weeks later, the next wave came. This one was sneaky. My parents had apparently contacted distant relatives, cousins, and aunts I rarely talked to, and asked them to reach out to me. Their mission? Persuade me to let them see the baby. I got messages like, "Your parents are really sad they haven't seen the baby yet. Don't you want them to be happy? They only want a few minutes, it won't hurt." I didn't respond. Not once. I knew exactly what was happening. These relatives didn't really matter to me. Their opinions weren't important. They were a tool my parents were using to guilt me, and I refused to be manipulated. Then Sarah entered the picture. Her message popped up on my phone. "I want to see the baby. I want to be part of her life." I stared at it for a long time. I thought about everything: the wedding sabotage, the constant favoritism, the way she tried to make every big moment about her. I typed back, firmly but calmly, "You don't deserve the chance to meet her. Not right now. Maybe not ever." She didn't take it well. "You're being cruel. You're punishing me for things I didn't even do." "This isn't about punishment," I responded. "This is about boundaries. About not letting the people who hurt me hurt my child." She tried to pressure me. She sent more messages, called multiple times. I stayed resolute. At home, life was different. It was peaceful, safe. I relied heavily on my aunt and uncle. They helped with everything: meals, diaper changes, even lullabies and stories. My uncle, who had been nervous around me as a child, showed a similar fear when handling my daughter. He would freeze when she cried too loud, hesitant to pick her up. I remembered my own childhood with him and gently pushed him. "It's okay. You won't hurt her. Just try." Slowly, he began to let go of the fear. And in those moments, I saw him in a new light. He wasn't just my uncle. He was a father figure, someone who truly cared and was willing to put aside his discomfort to help. I realized that love isn't about grand gestures or dramatic celebrations. Sometimes it's quiet,
Consistent.
safe. Every day, I felt stronger in my decision. No parents. No Sarah. Just my husband, my baby, and my aunt and uncle. I would watch my daughter sleep and think about how different things could have been if my parents had been present, if they had actually prioritized me the way they had prioritized Sarah. But they hadn't. And I wasn't going to let that continue with my child. It wasn't cruelty. It wasn't revenge. It was protection.
Update.
After weeks of resisting my parents' persistent attempts to see my daughter, I thought I had seen it all. I was wrong. It happened on a Tuesday. I was home with my baby, enjoying a rare, quiet morning. Daniel had gone to work, the baby was napping, and I was finally sipping my coffee without interruptions. Then banging. Loud, frantic, unstoppable banging on the front door. My heart skipped. I ran to the door. It was Sarah. She was red-faced, eyes wide, voice trembling with rage and impatience. "Open the door. I want to see the baby," she screamed. I froze for a second. Then anger hit like a tidal wave. I flung the door open. "You are not allowed here," I yelled. "If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the cops." Her mouth opened as if to argue, but she saw the fury in my eyes, the same fury I had held back for decades, and she finally backed off. She left without another word. I closed the door, my hands still shaking. For the first time, I realized this was it. I wasn't going to be pushed around anymore. A few days later, my parents tried another tactic: gifts. Stuffed animals, clothes, books. I did something I never thought I would. I threw them all away. Daniel raised an eyebrow but said nothing. His parents were supportive of my decision too. I felt a pang for a moment, guilt, maybe, but it vanished as soon as I looked at my daughter. She had everything she truly needed: love, security, attention, and family that actually cared. Meanwhile, my relationship with my aunt and uncle had only grown stronger. They came to visit without fear of my parents' disapproval. They cooked meals. They told stories, sang songs. I started to realize that family isn't always defined by blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up, who stays, and who actually chooses to care. Then, one day, I learned something shocking. Apparently, at a recent family gathering, my parents had gotten into a huge argument with my aunt and uncle. They accused them of turning me against them. The argument escalated quickly. My aunt finally confronted them with cold clarity. If you really loved her, you would have been there when she gave birth. You weren't. So don't lecture me about loyalty or family. My parents left the party in a huff, sulking, defeated, and embarrassed. I like my life now. It's calm, safe, joyful. I still have boundaries in place. My parents' attempts to reach the baby slowly died down. They sent fewer messages, fewer gifts, fewer calls. The pressure faded. Sarah occasionally pops up in my thoughts, reminder of the chaos I endured. I keep my distance, and that's okay. Because for the first time, I don't feel like I'm constantly being compared, measured, or overlooked. I have my husband, my baby, my aunt, and uncle. I have peace. And for now, that's enough. Update. It's been about a year since I last posted here. After all the chaos with Sarah and my parents, Daniel and I decided to focus solely on our little family. Daniel's support through everything has been unwavering. I don't just mean standing by me during confrontations or helping with the baby. I mean he actively builds a home where my daughter feels secure and loved. Where I feel secure and loved. We've created routines that work for us. A few months ago, Daniel surprised me with a vacation. We enjoyed every moment, just the two of us, a little escape from everything. When we got back, I started having doubts, wondering if I might be pregnant. A few days later, I found out I was. When I told Daniel, he was overjoyed. He hugged me tight, grinning like he couldn't believe it was real. I called my aunt and uncle immediately. They had always been my anchor, my safety net, my family, in every sense that mattered. Guess what? I said, barely containing my laughter and tears. What? My aunt asked eagerly. I'm pregnant again. There was a pause, then a scream of joy that nearly made me drop the phone. Oh, honey, that's wonderful, my aunt shouted. We spent hours on the phone. Even as the joy of a second pregnancy filled our home, there was an inevitable shadow I knew would loom. My parents. Predictably, as soon as they got word, they tried to contact me again. Messages flooded my phone. Calls that went unanswered. Emails that I ignored. I didn't reply. I had already decided that they would not be invited to the birth. The first time had been devastating. I would not allow that to happen again. This baby would grow up in a home filled with people who truly cared about them, not people who only claimed to care when it was convenient or when Sarah was content. Sarah, of course, tried her usual tactics. Messages ranging from pleading to manipulative, each one more desperate than the last. I read every message, then deleted them all. Not because I didn't feel a pang, but because my resolve had grown too strong. My daughter, the first, and the new baby coming into the world deserved protection from the same patterns that had hurt me for decades. No Sarah. No parents.
Not now.
Not ever if they continued on the same path. Life, in this new chapter, was calm and surprisingly joyful. Every day reminded me why my boundaries were necessary. Love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. And I had chosen to surround myself and my children with those who truly cared. Despite my firm stance, my parents tried one last round of manipulation. They sent flowers. They sent gifts. They sent long, tearful emails claiming they had changed. I didn't open them. Daniel supported me, as did my aunt and uncle. They all agreed. I had given them chance after chance, and each time they proved the same pattern: self-centeredness, favoritism, and disrespect. It was over. I was done. I feel excitement I never thought I could feel so freely. No guilt. No worry about being overshadowed. No fear of favoritism or neglect. I daydream about meeting this new child, introducing them to our loving, chosen family, and watching my daughter become a protective older sister. I think about the birth, this time, calm, safe, surrounded only by those who have proven themselves worthy. Daniel, my daughter, my aunt, and my uncle. The thought of my parents trying to insert themselves? It barely stirs anything in me now. Their attempts have faded. This baby will be born into a family that genuinely values them, and I finally get to enjoy the pure joy of motherhood without the weight of being second. I've realized something important over the last year. Being firm in your boundaries isn't cruelty. It isn't revenge. It's self-preservation and, in this case, protection of my children. I also realized that family is not defined by blood or tradition. It's defined by who shows up, who sacrifices, who truly cares. Daniel, my daughter, my aunt, my uncle, they're my family. They have shown me what it feels like to be truly loved and valued. As I wait for the new baby to arrive, I feel peace I never thought possible. Joy I never thought I would feel so freely. I am no longer living in the shadow of favoritism. I am standing in the light of love I have chosen, and it's enough. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel anxious. I feel free, and that, I think, is the best gift I could ever give my children.